You are entering the cosmos.
Hello, cadets. Welcome to another episode of General Howitzer's Big Monster Briefing Room. We show spoilers on this show. I want to set that up right away, that you're going to see a timeline, a slideshow of this particular training film from beginning to end. Also, is many times the case, there will be some graphic images, some blood and gore that are in these movies. That's a given, especially today. Because we are going to do one of Sam Raimi's earlier forays into training films. This is the Evil Dead 2. I got to be careful not to say "the" when it's not there, or I got to say "the" when it is there. Otherwise, the purists, the fans, will come down on me. So, Evil Dead 2, which is basically a remake of the first one, except they just did it better. I like the first one. My guest, who's coming up, says he likes the first one, but he likes the second and third one much better, and I agree with him on that. But first, let me introduce you to my able-bodied assistant who makes everything run smoothly, Miss Major Millie Hazzard.
Thank you very much, General. It's a pleasure to be here. We welcome the cadets. The cadets love to be here. I assured them that you would have your peach tea all ready to go. There you go. So
ready to go. Peach tea right here. Tastes like peach pits, but this is the last one.
We need to have some general noises generally. And there you go. So
general noises.
Right. So it's a very scary show today. It's a very scary show. So anyone with small children probably doesn't want the children to be there. Some of our cadets, bring their kids. Probably don't want that for this one. But we do have an amazing guest, let me say. I mean, Jeffrey Bützer is here. Everybody knows him. They love him. He's a celebrity. Let's be honest.
It's Bützer, right?
It's Bützer. Boots. We call
not Bützer. I heard it was Bützer. So like Bueller.
Well, you can ask him about it. You can ask him about it.
Well, he's in the green room. He's listening to us. So
why don't we?
I'm glad I corrected that before he came out.
Well, okay, that's right. Well, we'll bring him up, and then he'll be able to solve the mystery for us. What do you?
And he has a show on in the evenings about movies as well, doesn't he?
Called Day for Night. Yes, he does. Mm-hmm. And it's about movies. This guy is a
movie
fanatic. He's an aficionado. He knows everything about movies that there is. He knows everything.
And again, Sam Raimi is a big director now. He just did Marvel University does Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So again, this was his early beginnings. We're doing the Evil Dead pictures with Bruce Campbell.
We're going to get a lot of background information from Jeffrey Bützer. I guarantee you of that. So,
all right.
You want to bring him up?
Let's go ahead and bring him up. Right. Let's not keep him in there any longer.
Hello, Jeffrey.
There he is. Yes, this man is a walking
encyclopedia
film. I salute you on that.
I don't know about that. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I've seen your show Day for Night, and I've watched you talk to various people about different movies and stuff. And you know your stuff.
I watch a lot of movies. You got to do something. You got to stay busy. Yeah. Evil Dead.
You're pretty busy. You're a musician.
I am a musician. Yeah, I think I'm a writer now. Yeah, there I am. I wrote a book. I haven't played a show. I don't know. I think I think my musician card is I gotta fill it up soon because I'm trying to book a show because I haven't played a show in months. But yeah, so I'm a skateboarder, and the way I got introduced to Evil Dead 2 was in the 90s. It had been out for a while, and in a Blockhead skate video, there was a bunch of clips intercut throughout the skate video, and I asked my sisters, "What is this movie?" And she's like, I don't know. Let me ask my buddy Greg or whatever. I don't know, one of her boyfriends or something. And then he was like, oh, that's Evil Dead 2. You got to watch it. Because it was the scene with the eyeball flying through the air and landing in the mouth. That's how I came across this movie.
Well, interesting. I again, as a training film, this deals with demonic possession. There is a quote Book of the Dead out there, and in this movie, that book has already been destroyed in part 1, evidently. But there are still pages from the book that somebody brings into the cabin, which is the basically the set for the almost the movie, and part 1. And there's a tape recorder that unfortunately has a professor saying the incantation that brings these demons to life. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite horror movies because the villain is just like evil. It's just like a thing. It's not like embodying anybody particular. It's just can get inside anything and possess it. And I think that was pretty brilliant to give them so much freedom because it gets inside trees and hands and different people.
Right.
It was such a flexible idea. That's why it's one of my favorite. Because you asked me what my favorite horror films are, and I'm not a big horror guy because I don't like getting scared.
Right.
But
you told me that. But I did want to have a show, and you said, "Yeah, I'll do this one."
Yeah. There's a handful I really like. Most of them are all funny. So usually my rule is that they have to be funny, and Evil Dead 2 is definitely funny.
Well, again, in the first one, it wasn't. They weren't. What is the word I'm looking for here? They weren't as slapsticky. Because there is a lot of kind of slapstick humor, like the Three Stooges, like he's hitting himself in the head with plates and things. Yeah. His hand gets possessed in this film. I had forgotten that he had gotten possessed in these movies. I thought that Bruce Campbell was above that. He could not be possessed, but he's actually been possessed more than once in these films, and his hand is possessed in this one at one point.
Yeah, Bruce Campbell is a modern day, Buster Keaton. His physical comedy and acting is unparalleled. And the scene where he's breaking plates over his head, and then he grabs his collar and flips himself over. I mean, right. I'm sure he misses being able to do that because he did that with no wires. He just flipped himself, and because there's an Evil Dead show now. Well, I mean, it's canceled. It's canceled, but it ran for 3 seasons on Stars, and he did a lot of funny stuff. But you can tell he's not in the same shape he was in '87. Yeah. You said you saw it in the theater, right?
I did. Originally,
I didn't see. I didn't even see them until all 3 of them were out. Because I was probably like 13 or 14 when the 3rd one came out, and I really wanted to see it. And they did a good job of advertising because they didn't let people know it was a sequel. They just called it Army of Darkness with no connection to Evil Dead. So I probably wouldn't have wanted to see it if it was Evil Dead 3 because I would have been like, I don't know what Evil Dead is, 13 years old or whatever. But since they just called it Army of Darkness and the trailer was hilarious, I was pretty excited about it. And yeah, I between there and the Skate video were like around the same time because I saw the Skate video and I was trying to, and then I made the connection that this is the same guy. But yeah.
Well, we'll definitely have to bring you back for Army of Darkness when we do that one. We pull that training film on. So give us a chance to pull you back in. Okay, let's go ahead and start the timeline, and we'll talk between slides, or during slides, I should say. Renaissance Pictures is the name of the company that Sam Raimi and Ted Raimi is usually around. When Sam Raimi does something, his brother Ted is usually involved some way. Theodore.
Yeah, he plays about 4 or 5 different characters in Army of Darkness. He just keeps popping. I showed it to my son recently, and he was like, "Oh man, I think I just saw that guy." And I was like, "Yeah, he's in it about."
He's actually the one in the cellar, Henrietta, when she's when she is a zombie, or when she is a demon.
And he's the hand operator. He's the hand operator too.
Oh, really?
He's credited as being the hand as well.
They did a TV series, or they're still doing it, I think, for Creepshow.
Oh, really?
And he did an episode where he brings the Book of the Dead onto a TV show, and it's Theodore. It's Ted Raimi. and he becomes possessed while he's on the TV show because of the book.
Oh, that's great.
And again, all hell breaks loose in the studio, and that's an episode of Creepshow. I think it was in the second season.
He's always so good. Like when he even pops up in the Spider-Man movies, he's just a really likable. Ted Raimi's just a real sweet, likable guy in films, and I like him.
That's ironic that you say that, because my favorite character that he's done in a movie is when he's in Darkman as one of the bad guys.
I don't remember that. I've been thinking about rewatching that because my son and I have our Friday night movie night, and I was thinking about showing him Darkman, but I haven't seen it since it came out. I was 11 or 12.
The original Darkman with Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Yeah, he puts him up through a what are those? I'm sorry, I want to say porthole, but it's in the street, a manhole.
Oh, okay.
He pops him up into the street from a manhole, and a car hits him.
Oh,
That's how he takes them out.
I don't remember that. I need to watch that. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a really good death scene. It's an interesting death scene because obviously they've got like a Theodore Raimi puppet that they're popping up through a hole in the ground. so it's pretty gnarly.
This movie are incredible. Like this was in the heyday of practical effects, and I feel like Tom Savini worked on this. I'm kind of blanking.
No, there was somebody else. I can't remember his name, but it's Tom something, but it's not Tom Savini. And he probably got hired because his name sounds very similar to Tom Savini.
Yeah, because I feel like he worked on some. Maybe I'm thinking of Army. He worked on because he did Army of Darkness. I think I'm going to double check here. But
okay.
Yeah, because I know he did Army of Darkness because he I watched a documentary with him recently, and he was talking about how he was in Vietnam, and that's why he saw such horrible things. That this is sort of how he dealt with it.
Yeah, he's best known for the Living Dead pictures, and of course the earlier Freddy. I'm sorry, not Freddy. Jason, the Friday the 13th.
Oh, okay.
And he's created some amazing effects. He put a spear through Kevin Bacon's neck from under a bed, and just amazing effects. And of course, Creepshow.
Yeah, he was supposed to work on the original Night of the Living Dead, but he was in Vietnam. He was like. Romero wanted him, but that's why he ended up getting all the other ones because he worked on all the Dawn of the Dead and all that stuff.
I thought he did Night of the Living Dead.
No, he wanted.
I thought I saw a picture of him with the cast of Night of the Living Dead. Definitely Dawn of the Dead, yeah.
Dawn of the yeah. He might have like at one
Day
point.
of the Dead.
And how far that is.
Okay. All right, so the Book of the Damned is explained at the very beginning of the movie. It is written in blood. The book cover obviously looks like a kind of a snarling face, a wailing, moaning, demonic face. And let's show some of the pages there. And they show the pages being inked in blood as the credits or the beginning rolls on to the credits, Evil Dead 2. And we see Bruce Campbell driving to the cabin with his girlfriend, Linda. And there is a Linda, and there is a locket that he gives to her around the neck necklace in the first one, but they kind of repeated that in this. And, of course, there's the cabin. Bruce Campbell, definitely looking more mature in this one than the first one. And she's dancing while he plays piano. He gives her they make us notice the locket thing that he gave her. That's important. And he goes looking for something in the house there while he's getting wine ready, and he finds the tape recorder.
I like movies when people do stuff with their eyebrows or their nostrils flare, and he does this great move when he's like trying to get her to go, lay down with him like adults do, and he lifts his eyebrows up and he's like, "Oh, why don't we go in the other room or something?" And that whole line always cracks me up.
The line there is, it's just kind of ridiculous. Like you said, it's just like, wow, that's such a come on line. So every time we see a sweeping shot through the woods, that means the demon thing is coming.
Yeah.
and it bursts through the window and whoop, right into Linda. And again, he said he's played the tape that says the incantation, and that's what's called the evil. So he goes in there, and she's not there. The shattered window. He goes outside into the woods, and he runs into Linda. But now it's not really Linda anymore.
She's gone bad.
And he lops her head off. There's some running around and everything, and he ends up lopping her head off with a shovel. Which they say he should have done earlier on in the first movie. So in this one, he gets real quick to burying her body, and for some reason there's like it looks like lava black coal around the house there, around the front. I'm not sure why that is, but he buries her and even makes a little kind of makeshift cross there that he puts in the grave. Lots of nice fog and light there. And then, as dawn approaches, he gets possessed.
And yeah, he looks great there. I like that shot.
And luckily, it only lasts for a few minutes because the dawn comes up. The sun comes up, and that saves him. So now we know, as an audience, if you can make it to the daylight, if you can make it through the night, make it into the daylight, you're okay. The evil's not going to get you in the daylight. So he turns back into ash, and he's driving back to the bridge, and the bridge is all twisted up. The same thing happened in the first film. And I like the fact that it looks like a hand stopping you. There's 5 fingers there.
Yeah. That's probably my favorite overacting in the movie is when he stands at the bridge and throws his arm back. No! When he can't get through. That's one of my favorites.
And again, for some reason, it's over dramatic, but it works in this instance, in this situation.
The matte painting, yeah, that shot, there it is. That shot's really great too, because they would use like matte paintings and I don't know what they did there, the models and stuff for scale, but I don't know. There's just something storybookish about those kind of movies, like with practical effects. Mm-hmm. I really love that.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's a nice matte painting. It really is. So he wakes up, but it's getting dark. So he knows, oh no, I got to get back to the cabin. And he realizes the thing is after him again. So he drives back to the cabin, but he ends up hitting a tree and going through the windshield. Again, he takes a lot of abuse in this film. It's amazing he survives it. He runs into the house, and then we get the professor's daughter, who comes back with more pages from the book. This is how the writers bring back or come up with a way to get rid of the evil. And here's Mr. Perfect Hair, which they play up later.
Yeah.
And when we get to it, we'll talk about it. But look at that hair. I mean, that is 80s perfect hair right there.
The woman looks like a young Joan Rivers. I like her. She reminds me of somebody else too, but she's cool. She kind of reminds me of, her. She reminds me of like Joan Rivers or something.
Young Joan Rivers. Oh my God. Can we talk? He goes into the house. All kinds of weird stuff's happening. The piano's playing by itself. He's freaking out. He looks outside. And it's his girlfriend Linda's body dancing. And this is where Sam Raimi is utilizing some really nice animation. I don't know who he got to do it, but it did a really wonderful job with the animation in this film with the demons and stuff. She's putting her head on, and it keeps falling off. She keeps having to put it back on. And then eventually he sits down in a chair and the head comes in through the window and lands right in his lap.
Yeah, that's almost like a play on the Reanimator, which I don't know if that was first or not. There's the famous head scene.
Right, with Jeffrey Combs. Yeah.
Yeah, was that first?
I think Evil Dead was first.
Oh, okay.
The first one.
What year did
Reanimator? I think Reanimator came out around the mid 80s as well. So this one might have been after Reanimator, the original one.
Oh, okay. I was asking Google.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, not at all. You're the guest. She bites him. And of course, we know what that's going to do to him later.
Yeah.
And we start a scene where he is banging the head against the walls, on tables. He's banging her head all over the place to try to get it free. Try to get it off his hand. And that's kind of a, slapsticky, fun scene. And eventually he goes out to the shed and puts her head in a vice. That's how he gets his hand loose. So there are scenes here where she's yelling and screaming at him as a zombie or as a demon. And it's hard for me to do. I mean, they're demonic, but they're dead, but they're living, but so he ends up finding a chainsaw, and we don't see him saw her head in half, but we see it on the wall there with the shadow and the blood. Then we have the mirror scene where he pops out of the mirror and strangles himself. So we think. So
that scene was amazing because they didn't use any visual effects, and that was like his stunt double's back, and they had to mirror the moves, and that's really hard to do, and it matches up really good. By the way, I just looked up. Reanimator came out 2 years before this, so I don't know if it was like a nod to that or not. But people have seen Reanimator. There's a famous scene with the naked lady and the head.
So I was right. Evil Dead came first, then Reanimator, then Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, you were correct. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know horror movies as well, so I didn't know the timeline. But I just watched something about horror movies about Reanimator, and I remembered that.
That was a guess. that was a guess, an educated guess. We see the poisoning of the hand, and here begins probably the funnest part of the movie.
Oh yeah,
the training film. If your hand is possessed, it's going to try to smack you. It's going to try to strangle you. It's going to hit you over the head with plates, whatever it can find. And in this case, it actually knocks him out in the kitchen. We have a scene here with Joan Rivers in perfect hair. That's what I'm going to call him now for the rest of the film. Joan Rivers in perfect hair. They meet up with Billy Bob and Wanda Joe, or whatever their names are, locals. This place takes place in Tennessee. I realized that when I watched the first film, and they said, "Oh, we're crossing the Tennessee border." So they agree to take them via a trail because the bridge is out to the cabin. And we go back to the hand and the mischief with the hand. There's the plates.
Yeah, and the flip scene.
And he flips himself. Yes, you pointed that out earlier. He flips himself over with the hand grabbing him by the scruff of the shirt, which is an amazing flip. It really is.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, there's no stunt man there. There's no CGI. That was before CGI. It was him actually doing the stunt himself.
Yeah, it was a good flip. There's all kinds of stories about how they didn't have any money and they would just like really shoot out glass and stuff, and like not use fake bullets and shattering glass. They'd really shoot glass. And
oh man.
Yeah. You were talking about continuity. There is one scene that drives me nuts that I can't unsee it, is where you see the top of the set. The camera's bouncing through the house and then it tilts and you see the lights in the top of the set.
You see the rafters.
I think they may have cropped it on some versions, but the like usually if you get like a real director's cut with like the widescreen. Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, that's a great piece of information. Again, I like to point out that kind of stuff. This is the scene where the hand itself drags him, and it looks kind of rubbery, like it's stretching. Tries to drag him over to the cleaver. It's going to kill him with the cleaver, and then he comes down with the knife right through his own hand, and he says, "You're going down." And luckily, the chainsaw is right next to him. He saws his own hand off. So while that's going on, we see a scene where the doctor, or the young professor's daughter, is coming along with a book, and she has conned this guy into carrying a huge trunk through the woods. So
yeah, it's a great scene.
So he puts a bucket over the hand. He says, "This is going to be your home." Why didn't he just leave it pinned to the floor?
That's no fun.
Because the hand is a big problem in this film. And ironically, the book that's on the top of the stack of books he puts on top of the pallet is A Farewell to Arms.
He really leans into the jokes in this one. Also, in this one, Bruce Campbell, he's really funny. He's really quick and funny with his mouth. And in this one, he doesn't have a lot of dialogue. It isn't until Army of Darkness that he gets all the hilarious catchphrases and stuff. He's got a few, funny things he says in this, but this one's really more physical. I think that's why. I don't know. I think that's why it's my favorite. It's just so like I said, it's like a Buster Keaton horror movie.
At that time, action stars were told not to have a lot of lines. The Stallones, the Chuck Norrises, the Arnold Schwarzeneggers, they were told they shouldn't have a lot of lines, because critics and people made fun of them, if they had too much dialogue in these action films. So maybe Raimi took a nod to that, or, decided, hey, maybe it would be better if we just leave him relatively quiet, just reacting to what's going on around him.
I just watched a documentary with my son because, like I said, he's really into like Terminator and Total Recall, and we were watching about like the shift from those movies to the action movies now, and they were talking about how starting out with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, Steven Seagal, Chuck Norris, they were martial artists that learned to act, and then they finally realized like Keanu Reeves and Bruce Willis, these guys who were naturally kind of funny, they could actually bulk up and do some action. And so that's kind of what killed that early, like, quiet Mad Max or the quiet guy. And then there's a shift from about 92 on where then it becomes like the Weisenheimer. And that kind of killed off the old Van Damme movies.
Come out to the coast, have a few laughs. But early on, it's just like, we just want you to see you wield a tire iron. We don't want you to talk. Come on. It's not Shakespeare. And even Stallone made fun of Schwarzenegger made fun of that in The Last Action Hero when he actually showed him doing Shakespeare.
Oh, yeah. I like that movie a lot. Yeah. But yeah, it was an interesting, paradigm shift with, like, I hadn't really thought about, because I hadn't really spent a lot of time thinking about those movies since I watched them. Mm-hmm. And because I really liked, some of them I go back and watch and they're really awful. Like I went back and watched Van Damme's Cyborg, and it's just, it's awful. But some of the, especially the, Terminator and stuff by like real directors, they hold up. I mean, Terminator is just as good to me. And like this, that's why I think this one holds up, is because you have like a real clear vision of a director, with a team of people like Bob Tamper or whatever his name is, the producer. He was completely on the same. He was completely on the same page. And then by the way, his co-writer Scott Spiegel doesn't get a lot of attention. He co-wrote this movie, and I was looking him up today, and he seems pretty interesting. He's directed like tons of like horror and short films. Some of them had really funny titles, like Klutz the Detective or something, and Klutz the Detective sound, whatever, Inspector Klutz or whatever. That sounds pretty fun. But I want to research Scott Spiegel more, because the script on this is fantastic. So.
Well, and again, a lot of people give Raimi credit for being able to tell a story, and so can James Cameron. I mean, and Spielberg too. He started with Jaws.
Yeah.
Basically,
what's that one movie he did? Duel? Didn't he do Duel? Wasn't that his first movie?
He did Duel. Yeah, and he actually started out doing episodes of Rod Serling's Night Gallery.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was something with Ron Howard. I want to say Sugarland Express or something like that. But it was Jaws that really surprised everybody, because he took this little B horror film about a shark, and turned it into a great story. He turned it into art, and people show that in film classes all over the place now. It's next to Citizen Kane.
Yeah, I was thinking about that with like, it's funny because like I know Terminator and movies like that kind of get poo-pooed. My favorite action movie of all time is RoboCop, and Paul Verhoeven basically said that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Terminator. And if you're a student of film, you might write off Terminator as just being like this, whatever it is. But if you actually watch, like, even from a technical standpoint, the editing, like in the nightclub scene, the way they like push in, what he evokes with the camera without you noticing the camera is pretty amazing. Like pushing in, pulling out on the nightclub walk, and like the way it's edited is just perfect. And James Cameron, we all know he's a goober. I mean, like he got older and he did, Avatar, which I think is like one of the biggest wastes of money ever, but people like it. It's just like the Smurfs or something. I'm not a fan, but his early work, I just think what.
Really?
No, I don't even. I saw it once. I just don't care about it. I'm sure it's fine.
I've got 2 words for that: the abyss.
Yeah. But like Terminator 1 and 2, and he did some really great early work. I read this really cool. I know it's in the James Cameron show, but one of my favorite things is you love innovation and stuff. And Roger Corman was talking about. They were like, did you ever just see like pure genius from somebody like really early on? And he was like, yeah. He was like, James Cameron was working on some sci-fi movie as like a set decorator. And he was like, we got to make this look better. And he's like, well, I got $50. He's like, whatever you can do. And so James Cameron went to McDonald's and bought 49 Big Macs or whatever, 50 Big Macs with the $50. And then threw them all away and took the containers that flipped open and spray painted them all gray and lined the wall. So the set that he was irritated with that was just flat all of a sudden had texture. And he like torched some of them and like and he was like, he spent like 12 hours on it overnight. He spent the entire night just for this one shot. And he's like, I knew that his dedication to that one shot was like, this guy's going to go on to be great. And I always think that's cool. And you can see that to tie it to this, you can see it in this, you can just see like little set pieces that they spent time on, and like it's just such a detailed, beautiful movie.
Yeah, he does have a tendency to show great detail. What's funny is if you go back and watch Terminator nowadays, it's fun to watch because you've got cameos by people who went on to become huge stars. Like Bill Paxton is the guy he takes the jacket from. Lance Henriksen is like the assistant cop. Like the deputy. He actually auditioned for the Terminator. He put tinfoil on his teeth. He bulked up, dressed up with, put padding in his jacket, but they went, no, you're too short. No.
We just got, my son just bought it on DVD, and there's like little trivia on the page, and it says they originally wanted O.J. Simpson, but they didn't think people would believe him as a killer. Which I love. My son got a kick out of that. But yeah, O.J. Simpson was O.J. Simpson was like up for it too. I'm really glad Arnold got it. I think it's such a great movie. He was
big at that time, with Conan the Barbarian and all going on. Yeah, so it made sense. Why a robot from the future would have an Austrian accent? We just have to suspend our belief on that one.
Yeah. Well, we've already digressed into Arnold for a second. I'll tell you, Total Recall is really great, and the reason that got made is because he was such a big fan of Paul Verhoeven. It was kind of like a cross thing where like Paul Verhoeven loved Terminator, and then he made RoboCop because of Terminator, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger was like, oh, RoboCop's the greatest. And so originally
I want to work with him.
The Total Recall book, they wanted Richard Dreyfuss because they wanted like a nerdy guy who was like an office guy. And then if you know the plot of Total Recall, it's like this construction worker, but originally it was like a nerdy like accountant, and he goes in, he's like, oh, I want to be a secret agent, and then he goes in and gets the Total Recall done, and he's a secret agent because they thought it would be more interesting if it's like this guy who you almost don't buy, and then he's kicking butt. But since Arnold was so big, the producers were like, we'll make it with Arnold because he's like box office draw. And so then they had to rewrite it as a construction worker, which I think Richard Dreyfuss in that would have been pretty incredible. But I'm sorry. We just spent like 12 minutes on Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'm trying to think of a line for the movie so I can do it as Richard Dreyfuss. Well, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to Mars.
Yeah. I don't know. I could see Dreyfuss. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Let's get back to the timeline.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We stopped at the scene where Bruce Campbell goes full Tom and Jerry with the hand. He's pulled out a shotgun, a double-barreled shotgun. And he gets a double-barreled one in this film. In the first film, he only had a single-barrel shotgun.
Yeah.
and he has to listen carefully for where the hand is crawling around in the walls. And he shoots it, and a little bit of trickle of blood comes out of the hole in the wall, and then we get the huge fountain of blood comes out of the wall after his reaction. Yeah!
That's the connecting point of all three movies. All three movies have a blood geyser.
Yeah, okay.
There was one in the first one, right?
I think so, from the cellar, I think, yeah.
Yeah. And then the third one.
Which they did in this one, too. There's 2 blood geysers in this one.
Yeah, he does it in all of them. That's one connecting thing through all three movies is the blood geysers.
So there it is.
This is where,
and again, at this point, it's like, what's real and what's not real? What's, I mean, because of the scene with the mirror wasn't real. He's strangling himself. It's not the guy from the mirror strangling him. And it's obviously he doesn't have a geyser's worth of blood on him after the scene is over. There's just a little bit of blood on his face. But it's fun to watch. It really is.
Yeah, it's great. Then they reverse
He gets a fire hose of blood. And again, there's geysers, there's blood coming out of all holes in the wall, and all hell breaks loose. He's going nuts. The deer head on the wall is, possessed and laughing. And then he hears a noise outside the front door, and it's the professor's daughter and the 2 locals and Mr. Perfect Hair, and they're beating the hell out of him. Again, he's taking abuse from them, and she's like, "Uh-oh, where's my mom and dad?" So they end up throwing him down the cellar because they think he killed the mom and dad. And down there, he's going to meet somebody very nasty. She finds the recorder with her father's messages on it. And downstairs, Henrietta, her mother, has been buried by the father because she was possessed. And she pops up. And he's like, "Get me out of here!" And that's Theodore Raimi right there, Ted's brother, Sam's brother.
Yeah,
playing Henrietta in her demonic possessed self. And here's where we go to animation. I'm not sure now if Tim Burton shared this animator, but it certainly seems very Tim Burton-esque.
Yeah,
I know they're connected because of Danny Elfman. Danny Elfman has done some stuff for Sam Raimi, and of course he started out with Tim Burton.
I mean, it was around that Beetlejuice time. It might have been the same team that did the Beetlejuice animation. There's
Correct.
also, I think this is the one where when the hag is hanging, you can see cracks in the suit. Maybe it's Army of Darkness. I think it's this one. When the Ted Raimi monster is like supposed to be floating, but you can tell it's just on a wire.
Right. That comes a little later.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'll get to that. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Well, and it turns into this both times. That's what confused you. This
right.
Creature thing. Now, this thing bites the foot of the guy with the perfect hair.
There's the eyeball.
The eyeball pops out of the head when they slam her back down into the cellar, and boom. I thought for sure, since she swallowed that eye, that she was going to be possessed.
Yeah, I know. He's swallowed.
So he's leading us as the audience to think, oh, okay, the next possession is going to be this person. And of course, that doesn't happen. So that's a nice little trick that he did there. I want to say Bobby Joe is her name in this. It's a double name.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and this is a great part. Is the real Henrietta peeks out of the cellar, if we can go back to that slide, and tries to con her daughter, but her daughter's too smart. She's like, "You're not my mom. I know you're not my mom," because she's already seen the demon.
And then he turns into John Denver there for some reason.
Here we go. This is the perfect hair zombie demon. This is probably the gnarliest demon in this whole movie, I think.
It looks just like John Denver.
And the hair, it's still perfect.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh.
Where he turns his head backwards so that it's facing the back of his body when they're trying to sneak up on him. I love it. And of course they hack him up, and there's green goo everywhere. His blood instantly turned to green goo. So these 4 now are looking around. They're scared. They're hearing noises all around the cabin. And there's a door opens, and there's light behind the door. like a mystical kind of light, and it turns out to be the girl's father's ghost. And he tells her, and yes, everybody makes fun of this because it's a really cheesy ghost effect. It's like Doctor Who ghost effect. And this is where Ted Raimi. This is where the hand shows back up again. It's holding on to Bobby Joe, and it causes her to go out. By the way, the father tells her that in the pages that she has with her is the way to send the creature back to its time. The demonic thing. But Bobby Joe's going to have none of it anymore. She runs out into the forest. She's got to get out of there. And of course, we got kind of pre-tentacle porn here. The leaves and vines attack her.
It's a lot less graphic than the first one. The first one has the worst tree rape, I believe.
Yeah. And smacks her into a tree, and that's it. She's gone. And never got possessed, even though she had a demon eye. So he's like, hey, we got to go out there and find her. That's Ed, I think is his name. No, Ed was the one with the perfect hair.
I'm looking real quick. I'm going to get our names here.
Yeah. And she's trying to decipher what she needs to say to take the thing back. And he's like, no, seriously. He gets the gun. He gets the shotgun and says, no, we're going out. We're going to find Bobby Joe.
It is Bobby Joe, yeah. And then
yeah. And they go outside. Yeah, they go outside, and I don't know what it was like. That was like the trap door or something. Anyway, he goes outside. The demon comes back around, and it gets into Ash again.
Yeah, again.
Ash becomes possessed again.
Ashley Williams.
Yeah. And she goes back inside, the professor's daughter, and she ends up stabbing the other guy, the guy that's not possessed, with the sacred knife that they have that also goes with the book. And she drags him. You can tell he's in a lot of pain, too. She drags him into the other room, and unfortunately, she drags him too close to the cellar door. And of course, Henrietta comes up and gets him. And this is where we get our other geyser of blood. Yeah. She takes care of him. He's gone. But now she has to avoid Ash because he's still possessed. But he picks up the locket off the floor that belonged to Linda, and he's able to ward out the demon. But she's still trying to kill him.
Yeah.
It takes him like a minute for him to convince her, I'm not faking it. I'm not possessed anymore. Okay. We can work together. So they go into the work shed, and that's where we have the great scene where he creates the buzzsaw arm, the saw arm, and he straps the shotgun to his back. He's got a special harness that he's made, and he's ready to fight demons. So he goes down into the cellar to get the pages. Oh, that's what it was. The bumpkin threw the pages down into the cellar.
And the chainsaw is very much a nod to what's that guy's name? Tom Hopper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They were like massive fans of that movie. And
Dennis Hopper.
No, the director of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, Tom Hooper.
Tom Hooper, yeah. Dennis Hopper was in the second one. I don't think he was in the first one. But yeah,
which might have come out before this, I think.
Probably, yeah. But the first one they were massive fans of, and I know that's like I think that the chainsaw is directly related to that.
I see. What better way to dismember these demons? So he goes through this entire scene. It's like a 5-minute scene where he's searching around for the pages down in the cellar, and Henrietta doesn't pop out of anywhere. It's great. And then all of a sudden he's going back. He's almost on his way out, and she's under the stairs, and she stops him and pulls him under the stairs. And then she comes out. And
that's what
this is what you're talking about.
Yeah, the suit splits. I mean, you can see this thing. I'm pointing like you can see where I'm pointing. You can see that must have just been the sweatiest, most disgusting thing to be in. And apparently it was, and they would have to drain it. And at one point, we might see it in a still. You can see it's like ripped at the crotch. Oh, I guess we're past that.
Well, no, there's other scenes. There's other scenes after this. I'm just showing him coming up out of the cellar to deal with it.
Yeah.
And there she is spinning up at the. If we go back one slide, there she is spinning up at the ceiling over the girl.
Before the
reaction shot of Theodore as Henrietta looking at Ash when he comes back. And then she turns into the animated zombie or demon Henrietta head, which is kind of like an ET thing where it stretches.
I think she bites. Doesn't she get her hair bit there too? The Joan Rivers lady?
Mr. Perfect Hair, John Denver, bit Bobby Joe's hair.
He bites it. Okay, I couldn't remember.
That was another one where we feel like, oh my God, he's going to bite her ear off. She's going to become possessed.
And he just bites your hair.
He comes out with a mouthful of hair, which is an old Three Stooges gag, you know.
Sure.
Moe pulling Larry's hair, you know.
Yeah.
So they end up sawing the head off, and we get the great line where the demon says, "Oh God, what does the demon say? You're gonna eat your soul, or something like that." And he blows the head up with his shotgun and says,
"I think I'll swallow your soul."
So, swallow this. That's what it is. Swallow your soul. Swallow your soul. And he goes, swallow this. Love that.
Yeah.
So now they feel we've taken care of everything that's in the house here, but the trees start to attack the house from outside.
Yeah.
So it's not over yet. And
that's a weird shot where it looks like the camera is in the wrong format. It looks like they have like the wrong lens on, and that shot bugs me. Go ahead. Sorry.
Of the creature, you mean?
Yeah, on the left there, like it looks like it's in like when you're a projectionist, you have like a flat and a scope lens, and it looks like when you put a movie on the wrong lens and it's stretched out. And because I was a projectionist, that shot always irritated me.
It does look like it's off. It does look like it's kind of warped. This is where Ash says, "Don't look at it," because the sides of his hair are turning white. Which is funny because at the end of the movie, his hair is full black again.
Yeah.
I don't think his hair had white streaks in it in the next movie either, which is Army of Darkness. But she reads the incantation, which is going to send the thing back to its vortex or whatever, and the hand shows up. His severed hand, and stabs her in the back with the sacred knife. And the creature is trying to pull him in to eat him, devour him. And luckily, even though she's got a huge knife in her back, I mean, huge, she's able to read the rest of the incantation. And that's when the vortex opens up. He stabs the thing in the eye, and we have blue blood this time.
Yeah,
and he's trying to hold on, but there he goes. He goes into the vortex along with his car. His car goes with him, and that plays a big part in the next movie, Army of Darkness. And I'm guessing he packed lots of shells.
Yeah.
In his shirt, because he used the boomstick quite a bit in Army of Darkness. So and this is what happens. He is taken to another time, like the 1200s, 1300s or something, and all these knights in shining armor are around him. Another demon beast, flying demon beast, shows up, which also looks like Ted Raimi.
Yeah.
And Ted Raimi is the flying beast. And he pulls out the boomstick and shoots its head off.
Yeah, so another fun fact is one company made Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, like Renaissance Pictures, I guess, and then I believe it's Universal that released the third one. And so the characters all belong to like Sam Raimi's people, but a lot of stuff from the third one can't be used in like the games and in the new shows. Like Boomstick is copywritten with them. Shop S Smart from Army of Darkness, they can't use that. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that Universal was like, no, you can't have any of those. And so in the new show, he can't say Boomstick, And yeah, I was reading this article about about how bureaucrats ruin everything, and and like they wouldn't give them permission to use certain expressions, and yeah, that's sorry, but
That's dirty Redden.
because you were saying boomstick, because he only says that in the third one, and
Right.
yeah, they have a copyright on that, which is ridiculous.
Shop smart, shop S-smart.
Yeah.
And Bridget Fonda is his girlfriend at the end of that one.
Yeah, they are at the no, at the beginning they right, because in the Army of Darkness, when they're doing the flashbacks, they redid the flashbacks with Bridget Fonda, I think, right?
Okay.
I think so. Maybe you're right. I know she's in the begin. I think she's in the beginning.
I haven't seen that one in a while too.
I'm pretty sure she's in the beginning, and they redid all the flashbacks with her instead of the original actress. But
I think you're right, because he kisses somebody else at the end of the film when he says "Hail to the King, baby."
Yeah, they can't say "Hail to the King" either. That's another one that they own. So stupid.
Those bastards.
Yeah.
And of course, Raimi went on to do Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 and I'm not sure if he did Spider-Man 3.
He did.
He did. Surprising.
Quicken the Dead?
That was not as good as the first two.
I love them all, but I'm biased. I mean, I just love Spider-Man. But yeah, he went on to do those. He did a bunch of. He did like Quicken the Dead, which is a pretty good Western. He did. Yeah, you mentioned Darkman. He's done a lot of cool movies. Drag Me to Hell was his return to horror, and I think that's really holds up. I think that's a good one. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I have not. I'll have to put it on my list.
In the theater, it was incredible. There's a segment. He's known for the crazy camera work and stuff. And there's a scene in a parking deck, and the sound in the theater was so insane. It was just really good. So anyway, were we at the end of
the sweeping shots through the woods and stuff will go over the car and stuff like that. It's amazing how he does that. And they the Coen brothers do a lot of that too. There's the shot that they use in Raising Arizona that goes up to the Arizona house when the mother is screaming about missing the one child. But that camera shot, there's no tracks. It just goes through the yard, over the fountain, up a ladder, and into the window.
Joe Cohen was the editor on the first Evil Dead movie. I think he's uncredited. Then they were all really good friends, I guess, up in Minnesota or whatever. And because they made a movie called Crime Wave together. Mm-hmm. And then and also I feel like Barry Sonnenfeld is friends with them. I feel like he's part of that whole crew, which makes sense because Barry Sonnenfeld was the DP on Raising Arizona. He was the one that did all that crazy stuff.
Okay.
But the Coen brothers, they definitely are all chummy.
Chummy, like Jaws.
Yeah. That looks like it's from the Gremlins.
I think Major Hazzard likes this shot.
Yeah.
The demon creature getting the head blown off. Again, a great shot of Ash there. I guess there is a little whiteness here on the right-hand side there.
But it doesn't stay for the third one, I don't think.
And he realizes that there was a picture earlier of a guy with a saw arm. We know what it is, but he doesn't pick up on it. That he's the prophecy. He's on the page in the book as being the guy that comes and saves everybody. And he's like, no. They do that pan away from him, showing And here's the one continuity thing that I found in this film. If we can go to the next slide. He falls and he's in the middle of the desert. It looks like there's a castle behind him, but where his car falls, it just looks like desert. It's just sand. But they pull the camera out here, and you can see castle walls on both sides. So he's obviously in some kind of castle kind of thing there. Anyway, and a lot more extras there than when he first fell.
Hey, my son Francis is watching. Hey, Francis.
One of my favorite Halloween movies.
Yeah.
And here's another great thing. There's only 8 people in this movie. I mean, he kept it as far as budget goes. Yeah, I mean, it's just 8 people, a cabin out in the woods. Yeah, you couldn't get any more simple than that. You know, you throw some demons in, and it's again, we only get the real. What the hell am I looking for here? the real value, the shots at the end when he's in a different universe.
Oh yeah, with the
otherwise it's all in the woods in a cabin, and there's only 8 people involved.
Yeah, I think most of the budget went for that monster thing at the end. That big tree creature looks like it's out of Neverending Story. That thing.
Yeah.
Another thing that's funny is Stephen King was really crucial to getting this made.
Really?
Yeah. So when the first movie came out, it was just kind of, it came out and whatever. And then Stephen King said it's the greatest horror movie of the year. So they put that on posters, and he mentioned it. And then he went to De Laurentiis and was like, you need to let this guy do whatever he wants to do. And he had some pullback then, Carrie and what was the other one?
Yeah.
Some of his 70s stuff.
Christine.
Yeah. And so he brought them to De Laurentiis, who financed this one, which is pretty cool. I don't know a lot about Stephen King. That's cool. But yeah, it's a staple at my household. My wife has never made it through it, but now I've introduced it to my son, Francis, who's watching, and he loved it. And I think he said he liked it better than the third one, which is pretty hip, because I thought as a kid, Army of Darkness would be a little more fun for him, but he really, I think he responded a lot to the weird, surreal parts, like with the deer's head laughing. And
and again, I talked to you about this before the show. I had not seen this in a long time since it was in the movie theaters. That's 87. So I had forgotten a lot about it, and I didn't really appreciate it at the time that I saw it. I wasn't into horror as much back then. So my favorite was Army of Darkness from this series until this week when I watched this for the timeline, and I was like, this is really a great film. And this is now my favorite in the series. So thank you for bringing me back to that.
Yeah, I'm glad. It's incredible. Yeah, I don't even rank it among my favorite horror movies. It's like one of my favorite movies. I just think it's got everything I like. It's silly, dark, it's surreal. Because like pretty much I have to have humor in a movie or I'm not going to love it. I'll like it, but I'm not going to love it. That's why there's certain directors I just can't get into, like Michael Haneke or something, where I'm just like, oh, about a depressed suicidal piano teacher. This looks fun, or whatever.
Why so serious?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, and again, we go to the movies to escape. We watch training films to escape.
Yeah, your training films. Yeah, I think we learned a lot about how to. I will recommend a movie to you if you love this. I'm hijacking the thing. I always at the end of my shows, I always recommend a movie. Like, if you like this, check out. I'll tell people watching, if you like this, track down a movie called Cemetery Man with Rupert, that dude from the 90s. I can't think of his name. Rupert Everett. And it's from Dario Argento's assistant directed it. And it's about a guy working at a cemetery, and it's got very much the same sensibility of just completely bleak, dark humor, and I think people will love it.
One more time, the name?
Cemetery Man.
Oh, Cemetery Man. Okay.
Yeah, it came out around 24.
I'll check that out, and if it looks like a good film for the show, we'll bring you back for that one too.
Yeah, it's brutal. Yeah, thanks for inviting me to talk
brutal.
About it. It is. I've had a couple weeks off, so this was fun to get to talk about a movie.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. Again, everybody was commenting on the rapport between the two of us and how good it was. So I'm really happy that you were able to come on.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And all of you out there, if you're up against demons, get your double-barreled shotguns and your chainsaws. Get ready to hack and shoot. Keep an eye out for those big monsters out there. And also watch Jeffrey's show. Can you tell us again what time that is?
It's called Day for Night. It's usually Tuesday. Wait, what do we do? Thursdays at 10? Tuesdays or Thursdays at 10, but we're taking a break. I'm blanking on which day it is. I think we have Thursdays.
It's Thursdays, I believe.
Okay.
Because we do a show on Thursdays too, and then we do we try to go over to Dritta, No Icing with Dritta after that. So it's a full night of entertainment.
Yeah, we've changed around a little bit. It's like in the old days when Twin Peaks would come out and they moved it to a bunch of nights to see what worked. But yeah, I'm going to come back eventually. I'm just trying to line up some guests and have some time to think and watch movies.
Fair enough. Thank you again, sir. I salute you. And thank you, Major Hazzard, for making it all work like a well-oiled machine.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Top secret. Keep an eye out for those big monsters out there and those zombies and ghouls and goblins and things.